Salvation Army brought us turkey sandwiches. Told them I didn't want their help. There's no salvation to be had here. You think I'm unhinged? A madman that sleeps in his shed on his allotment. A savage. And they're right. I see it in the endless, sleepless nights where I growl so loud I rumble the earth, where I howl at the moon like a wounded wolf. And then there's the nights I just stare out to sea. Let me breath blow cold as the ocean comes in and out. I hear the tide of her breathing. As though she's there again, next to us, in the dark. As though she's there again, next to us. But it's just the dark. The flicker of her windswept hair. That half a smile like would tease across her pale face. But it's all just a trick. A ghostly imprint on the bitter landscape. Ange knew when I fought I wasn't really fighting somebody else, but the wolf inside of us. He shackled in there. He snapped and pulled to get out. She knew I fought to get hurt. Told us there was other ways to feel. Until I met her, I would feast me eyes on people's fear as they looked at me face wild after a fight. The way that blood would drip from me muzzle, I would growl at their glances, show them how blood dries on gum lines, took comfort from their wide eyes, 'cause I was just as scared of myself as they were. But Ange, she thought the good in us. Said it was in there. Hidden even from me. And I warned her that it wasn't. I pushed her away from us because I knew it wasn't in there. I told her it wasn't, but she kept going on about the goodness inside of us. And as time went on, I started to believe it. That the wolf could be tamed. Ange was a librarian. She brought us books by men hounded by their own beasts. Bukowski, Hemingway, Cormac McCarthy. With their lines in her hands, I was learning. Learning tenderness in this hardened world. Learning to feel things other than the physical. Learning to be human again. And it seemed to be working. We moved into a little terraced house on Newbiggins seafront. I got a job at the tip, and I stopped scrapping her. Briefly, I had it out. And then the whale washed up at Christmas. We stood on the dunes as the sea swelled and spat, and we watched this massive, majestic creature thrash and flail and wail for help, but even the sea and the moon couldn't pull her back. and she was left on shore for us all to go at. Crowds gathered, and the Coast Guard told tales of men with pliers trying to tear her teeth from her jaw, rip her skin to ribbons, strip the flesh from her ribs, and use them as archways, put them in parks, hang them on walls, and so we stood vigil on the dunes, me and Ange under the blackened bellied clouds. And as we watched, Ange told us about the loneliest whale in the world. A whale whose call was unable to be understood by any other living creature. This whale drifted for decades, out there, alone, crying into the void. And I thought of me mom, crying at night in the darkness. I didn't understand. I watched her take her last breath. I watched the whale take her last breath under the low winter moon. And I felt it. I felt the sadness. It's the first time I remember feeling like anything. It was the saddest thing I've ever seen. And I don't know why, it just hit us. And that's when I heard them. A group of lads making their way down the dunes towards the whale, towards her, and in the blink of an eye I was all fire and fury, powerless to stop it. I wanted to protect her. I wanted the physical to overpower the emotional. The big one hit us over the head with a pry axe handle. Blood blocked one of me eyes, bubbled up me nose, seeped into me mouth. I spat. I puffed me chest out. He doon, good eye wide, wild, and I took him doon with one swing. I stamped on his ribs. I kicked his skull. His mates tried to tear us off him, and I fell, and I bit his leg. I latched on, and I ragged him like a dog rags a rabbit, and I wouldn't let go, no matter how much he writhed on the floor. I tried to shake us off, and I straddled him. Bam, bam, bam! I tried to knock his teeth out of his sorry jaw. She screamed at us to stop, but I was all adrenaline. I couldn't be tamed. And it was as if I'd slipped in time. And I could see me dad in this fella's face. And I was taken back to all of the times that I didn't save her. When I'd stared at the floor, scored by fingernails that had failed to claw into safety. When I would try to stroke the bruises better. Watercolours of purples, blacks, blues. A septic yellow art was crept in. The time he put a lighter to her face. And her skin burst. Bubbled, popped, reds, pinks, whites, oozed and wept, and he left her alone to die. And I was powerless to stop it. And I hated it. I hated being able to feel. And so I pounded this fella's face. Blow after blow after blow. Until my body was spent. And I leaned in close. And I told him that if he laid a finger on her, I would rip the flesh from his nose, chew it up, spit it back at him. I would kill him! And his mates pulled us off him and carried him away. And I didn't want her to see us like this. But she came out of it, so I pushed her away. I didn't mean to do it. I just didn't want her to see us like this. And as soon as I did it, I was sorry. and I tried to help her up. But I could see it in her eyes. She was scared. And I felt it. The stab of shame. So I walked away. That night I passed out in front of the fire, and I dreamt of nakedness, riding wolfback as a boy, the heft of hind legs kicking up dirt. My dad always said that riding was like flying, through galaxies, through time, through all of human history. But there he stands now to stop us, down on the shore, in front of me mum, axe in his hand, our skin gashed, wounds deep, reds, pinks, whites ooze and weep. And he douses our petrol, pours it in deep, lights a match, and she gets up in a blast. And he fuels the fire inside us. He makes us rage, and me and the wolf gan up in a blaze. Me body bleeds and breaks, but beats on as if it always meant to be. A burning burst of energy, a force of flame and power, devouring his hurt and striding on. And he watches me boyish face, unyielding, strong in the haze, as I jump down, release the hound that bolts right at him, pins him to the ground. He'd doon, hackles up, slobber slops from angry jaws as he swipes him with vicious claws, and I let them destroy each other. Disappear! And then, in that nonsensical way that dreams unravel, my mother is transformed. And I walk calmly to her, engulfed in flames. The flames roar and rip at me skin, and I sit astride a fiery wheel, and up we go. The sky is the sea, and the clouds are the waves, and we are free. And then in my dream, I come out of myself, and I'm back on the shore under a moon-menaced sky, and I let out a cry, because all that's left of me mother is a flickering glow. And out of that warm light, I'm taken back to Christmas. Open fire, soft, crackling, and in my dream I wake up warm, in my little terraced house, and my mum and aunt are decorating the Christmas tree. But I wake up alone, still drunk in the dark, knuckles gnarled, neck hurt. And I think of Ange. And that night, how she touched me arm and told us she was okay, that everything was okay. And I wanted to believe her. There was fear in her eyes. And for the first time, I told her about me mum, what me dad did, and how I didn't save her. And I felt it. The guilt. When she pulled us in, she said I was just a boy, and I was powerless to stop it, and that there was goodness in us. And I wanted to believe her. But I walked away. Because I'm more beast than man. I see it in the endless sleepless nights when I growl so loud I make the earth rumble. When I howl at the moon like a wounded wolf. And then there's the nights when I sit and look out to sea. Let me breath blow cold. The ocean comes in and out. I hear the tide of my breathing. As though she's there again, next to us, in the dark. As though she's there again, next to us. But it's just the dark. The flicker of her windswept hair. That half a smile I could tease across her pale face. But it's all just a trick. A ghostly imprint on the bitter landscape, showing us what I could have had. Her arms are outstretched, telling us I was just a boy, powerless to stop it. And maybe it's the drink. Maybe it's because I miss her. But this Christmas Eve, all these years later, as the dawn breaks the darkness, I'm starting to believe it. I'm starting to believe that wild beasts can be tamed. I'm starting to believe that there's goodness in my heart.